Will you start today? I can't remember, but who started last time? But I don't care. Just start if you want.
Do you want me to?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it was due for you actually, but it's fine. I will do it. What do we say again?
Hello and welcome. Podcast. Time will tell.
Oh yeah, time will tell. That's it. Yeah, we'll just use that intro.
Yeah. Wait.
Okay. Or hang
It's
on.
our new intro. Yeah.
Or hello and welcome to episode 4 of the podcast Time Will Tell. Hello!
Thank you. All
The
right.
Drake Bell podcast that is deep diving into the multi-tracks of It's Only Time by Drake Bell, released in 2006. And I am Jordan, and I am with Mr. Kai Dunsberg himself.
Where? Oh, you.
You!
Oh, me. Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah. It's been a few weeks since we recorded the last episode.
It has. I've been on holiday.
Same. And I think the last time we recorded was a tough week because I think we recorded 3 episodes this same week, and we did it like in the morning all the time, and now we do it in the morning again.
Yes.
So we had a few episodes to release actually later. So like the last episode came out 1 week ago, I think. No, it's almost 2 weeks ago. And it was already 2 weeks old when it came out. So,
Yeah.
and I think it's a little longer break now it's longer than a week now. But yeah, I mean, we can't record every day. So
Yeah.
we try to be really fast actually.
Yeah, I mean, so far as well, I should say that it's been quite well received. People
Yeah.
seem to be enjoying it, which is lovely. And
Totally.
if you are listening to this on, Audible streaming services, please do check it out on either
Yeah.
Spotify or YouTube, because there is video output too, and you'll be able to see all the different clips and pieces.
Yeah.
There's
And
one
also-
thing that...
yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I just want to say sometimes you might even not notice that there is something you miss, because sometimes while we talk, you see some picture or something. So, and we don't mention that. So,
No, it is usually
yeah, but it
Kai's
would be better.
private collection.
Yeah, and also I want to say in the beginning, I don't think it's so important, but like I think a few people did ask us if we have a Patreon, and we don't have a Patreon because we actually don't have anything to offer there. I mean, like it's not that we have a bunch of outtakes we keep out. We don't have.
Yeah.
I mean, if there was something interesting, we would put it into the episodes. So Patreon would make sense, but we did like a buy me a coffee thing for people who want to support us. So
Yeah.
you see the
I
link
believe
right now.
that's, yeah, buymeacoffee.com/Time Will Tell podcast, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, if not, the link will look different. But yeah, if you feel like you want to support us, you can do it this way.
That would be really lovely. Yeah, thank
yeah.
you. Because it is a labour of love. It takes us quite a long time to do this and to prepare it for it, but
Well,
we do love it as well. So
And now you
support is
see-
helpful.
Now you see the real intentions behind this podcast. we waited like 5 episodes to actually like start making money off of this, but please pay us now, because otherwise we will stop this podcast right after this episode if we don't get money. So just want to say this, but it's about love actually. So
No, it is. Yeah. We
Just joking.
love the album, and we feel really privileged to be able to do this.
Yeah.
So one thing just before we kick in, since the last recording, do you remember in episode 0 when we were talking about Telegraph as an album, there was something that I said to you about Josh Peck being in circles, and I thought he said something about beatboxing.
Yeah.
We've since had a message
answer.
from CJ, who told us that apparently Josh is saying Jewish kid beatbox.
Yeah.
Or I think I hear Jewish kid beatboxing, I think is what I hear.
Same.
But so we've had an official word, and it sounds like it.
And also, I think on TikTok and other comment sections, we also had people saying this. But we had CJ first, I think. But I just wanted to mention that there were other people who also heard like the right thing. I think they actually said beatboxing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It does sound like beatboxing. I guess if you're able to, maybe reinsert that clip if you can.
Right now?
Yeah.
All right.
Jewish kid beatboxing. Jewish kid beatboxing.
A day to create a version of it with that.
Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah. So I just wanted to mention that because that was something that we never actually really came up with an answer for. But now we have one.
Oh, by the way, I have the comment here because I mentioned the Patreon and I want to go back to the money thing. So, no, because I have a few comments on my phone.
Okay.
And this person said, who's called Smiley Smile 31, said, loving this podcast. I imagine this is more of a passion project for you guys, but if you set up a Patreon of some sort of way to tip as a thanks, I totally contribute. So that's why I mentioned this. And actually,
I mean, that's really kind. I think they
really
might have
kind.
actually done it for us, and I haven't withdrawn it for us yet. But
I have
very kind.
I have. Do you have comments actually you want to talk about? Because I have 3 comments I at least want to mention. Because I think since we got a few comments, since we have a few episodes now, I think it's probably sometimes there's something we can talk about for a little bit, especially because this song today won't be long because
Very true.
the title track, but it's also like probably the shortest episode. But I have a comment from, and I don't know if I pronounced that name correctly, but it's Vigin already fucked up. Wiginonify.
I'm sure that's not correct, but go on.
No, Wigionify.
Okay.
Wigionify? I don't know. I'm glad that you included the live performance of I Know on TRL. I had never seen it before, a cute little moment when Drake lost his composure. It's strange that It's Only Time had a limited release. It does make you wonder if they just wanted to get some easy money by being the label to release Drake's first album and cash in on the interest created by Drake and Josh, without really being interested in releasing more albums with Drake as a signed artist. It wouldn't surprise me if they wanted to include a version of Found a Way because of Drake and Josh, even though it had already been released. And this is something I didn't even think about, but it actually could be the case that, and it wouldn't explain maybe a little bit why after It's Only Time they didn't really do. I mean, they did the live DVD, but that was 2 years after that, and also, as we already know, they stopped printing the CDs when they were sold out. So it kind of would explain maybe. I mean, I don't know. But like the big major labels, we know for a fact that they aren't really like supporting their own artists.
I can totally imagine.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if you look at the really big artists like Michael Jackson, for example, like what he gone through with Sony Music, like he was going through hell with them. So and they were making money off of him. Like he gained the most money for them. Like no one ever gained as much as Michael Jackson for a major label, and they still acted like he's a piece of shit. Like, yeah. And I mean, Drake wasn't in that, like, he wasn't near Michael Jackson's success. But, I mean, by 2006, Drake and Josh was kind of a big thing. So probably they wanted to make money off of that. So, yeah. But I don't know. But I'm actually glad it happened because It's Only Time. It's such a great record. So, but I just
Absolutely.
wanted to point out that comment because I never thought about like from that perspective. I didn't see that perspective before.
Yeah, I never really thought about it. It does make sense. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
There is a comment that I'd quite like to bring up actually by Sonic Noah on the episode 2 I Know, which was where they said, from what I've seen on YouTube videos, there have actually been some shows where Drake did play E flat major 7 in I Know, as opposed to the C minor. I want to say you do see it quite a bit in 2012, and I think there are some times in 2013 as well. One show I know for sure is where Drake does that performance at the Roxy in 2012. Now, I replied to this comment, and I initially couldn't find said videos, but I have since seen it, and I stand corrected. There are moments where he plays that chord, and for whatever reason, I don't know why that isn't a regular thing.
Yeah. I have 2 more comments. This one is from Piano Ellie. And this one actually also is good to read here because I have something to say about this. So she said, or he said, I don't know. Ellie sounds like she. If I had to guess, the Disney radio edits made lyric changes to make the song especially kid-friendly, maybe because Take the Hand of Any Man is too promiscuous. Is that correct spell?
Promiscuous?
Promiscuous, I don't know. Same goes for changing. I want to feel the way you touch me and makes me happy. Maybe too spicy. And that's also something we could have known because I bet this is the reason, actually.
Yeah.
Radio Disney, they can't have anything related to more than holding hands. Like, you know?
Is there
I mean-
anything beyond holding hands, Kai? I don't know.
I don't know. A periscope is not. So, and also, I think this person is right, but also I wanted to mention, after we did the episode of I Know, I checked the files again, the master files.
Okay.
And there is indeed another version of I Know which even has more lyric changes than what I had on the podcast.
Right.
So probably I will show this right now.
Guess again, you've been known to change your mind at any time. Again, you've been known to change the line at any time. Just to fill your fantasy.
And then we have a comment from Daniel Ford, YouTube, who said the CJ vocal, like we talked about a very high CJ voice in the last episode. And he said, I've heard Mike go way higher than that on a video I saw from in the studio years ago, filming him singing live.
Right.
So, and this is something I didn't know. I have never seen videos of them singing in the studio. But
Yeah,
it
this was the video from Electrolytes, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I'm trying to get these videos. Actually, I figured out the person on Instagram, and did not yet receive a message. But like,
Okay.
if we get this video, we will probably show it in the podcast if we like get
Absolutely.
the permission. So I've never seen them in the studio. It would be interesting.
Yeah. It feels like that's a rare piece of footage.
I think so. Yeah, my dog's barking because there was a dog outside barking, but it's no
Yeah,
problem.
he also agrees it's very rare.
Huh?
He also agrees it's very rare footage.
Yeah, I think so. I think so, actually, because we know everything, but that one I've never seen. Like, I usually know everything. Like
You do?
every time someone sends me a message, like, "Hey Kai, did you know that?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like I know since 15 years.
Yeah, absolutely. You are like a sort of human, I don't know, like directory of knowledge.
Yeah, because I used to send everyone an email like for ages, like everyone. Like I sent emails to Mike, I sent emails to whatever email address I could get. Like
Yeah,
I never had Drake's
get it.
email address before a few years ago, but like like I wrote everyone, and sometimes I received answers,
Brilliant. Yeah.
and that's why we sit here today.
Very true. It's a very good point.
Yeah, I think if you don't have anything to say, we're gonna check out the stems. Even though I want to say like that, this is like the title track of the record, and it's like I think it's, and I don't want to sound mean, but it's like
I know exactly what you're going to say.
it's not the most loved track from the record or from his discography at all. Even though it's the title track, and it's a cool track.
It is a
But
really
the
cool track.
It doesn't fit anything on the record.
Yeah, it's a funny one. I'm glad you said it because I didn't know how to word it. And I must admit,
So the German
when
guy
I
has to figure out, no?
yeah, yeah, exactly. Thank you. I must admit that I never really listened to this song when I first got used to the album. In fact, it was a song that I used to skip. Not really sure
Yeah.
why. I don't know. I just didn't really massively enjoy it.
Because you have a different vibe when you start the record from a Periscope to Do What You Want. I know,
And I know, yeah.
you have different, like it's you have a different feeling. You want it like you have a piano vibe, kind of.
Yes.
And then this power pop track comes, which is like a classic power pop. Like you could put it on probably the first record of Jellyfish, for example, which was more,
true.
which had more rock songs. So this one could also fit on the Telegraph album as well. But
True, yeah,
it
like
doesn't-
Golden Days and stuff.
Yeah, but it doesn't really fit on this record. I mean, it fits from the harmonies, but and it's not a bad song at all. Like I like
Mm-hmm. Not
the
at all.
song a lot, and I listened to it today, but I didn't listen to it when I discovered the record, like you.
Yeah, it's a funny one. However, I think a lot of people will be in the same boat as us. And I'm hoping that having listened to what we're about to show, you'll have a deeper appreciation of the song and actually maybe even find yourself listening to it more and hearing all these little things that possibly didn't notice.
Yeah.
So I guess, shall we just dive in?
Let's do it.
Cool. All right. I will go for the same old, and that is to show you all the drums first. We'll start with just a totally clean kick, and we'll hear what that sounds like. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Not much exciting going on there. We have a couple of replacements as well, just to hear those replacements. Which I believe we've had in a previous song, actually. This is
Maybe,
something
yeah.
that I've noticed quite a bit is a lot of the drum samples are used throughout the song, and throughout the albums, and I suppose that just gives a kind of continuity and a feeling of similarity throughout. And together, those kick sounds. Bit beefier.
Yeah.
And then we have our snare. So in particular, we've got a snare top. Little bit of reverb.
Yeah.
And we've got the snare bottom.
And we
Not-
got no samples.
And we have no samples. It does, however, go through a drum squash, a parallel drum compression, which includes some of the kicks. So together, they all sound like this. I actually really like the sound of that snare. It's very snappy.
Actually, I always could appreciate the song for the mixing and the drum sound because I always felt like the sound of the drums is so clean. So I wouldn't have like looking at other sessions of them using tons of samples, which is not a bad thing, but I would have guessed this has samples as well because the snare drum sounds so it's so
I just think of it as snappy. It's like
snappy, yeah, totally.
it's very crisp.
But also it has some ringing, like you can hear.
Yeah.
Like it's really good because I like that drum sound is something I like. I try to
yeah, I know
like
what you mean.
record with my own drums
Yeah.
because I think my Ludwig snare sounds similar to that. So
I
that's
wonder
what I
actually
wanted.
what kit was used.
I think that's who played on that drums.
Good point. So this was Joe Travers or Travers.
Then I don't know. Because the other guy told me he was playing a Yamaha set, so this one probably.
Okay.
But it could be a Gretsch kit. I don't know why, but I heard they used also some Gretsch stuff, so
Okay.
maybe.
Yeah,
That's why
interesting.
I have a Gretsch kit, because years ago I got a Gretsch kit because I heard they used Gretsch somewhere on this, so
Got you.
and it was not so expensive, so
It would be hilarious if they never used a Gretsch.
yeah, totally.
Just so you can hear, because you might find this interesting, the snare bottom, I should say, has nothing. No additional processing. It might have gone through the Studer tape machine, but no additional plugins. However, the snare top does. So let me just remove all elements of the squash and the reverb and the compression and the EQ. See if this sounds much different for you. Along with the bottom. So it still has
Yeah.
a little bit of snap, but once you start adding in that EQ,
Yeah.
particularly that reverb,
Yeah.
gives it a lot more kind of weight.
Totally, yeah.
Something
And
that
the
I really
reverb-
like.
I mention in like every episode, but the reverb also like makes possible that you hear something more clear in the mix. Like it sounds more clean. You can hear it clearly. And if you put away the reverb, probably the snare is a little bit more drowned.
Probably. Shall I test it?
Maybe you should, but
Let's see. So
it would
just-
be not cool if I'm wrong. So
Shall we find out? So I'll remove the instance of the reverb in a second. So this is as normal. And then without the reverb. And with?
way better. You
There
can
you go.
still hear it, of course, but it's like when you put it on, you pay way more attention to it. Because
Absolutely,
you
yeah.
can hear it. It's also stereo. The
True.
reverb,
Yeah,
I
good
think.
point. Yeah.
So you pay way more attention to it, and you hear it all the time. Actually, it's a lot reverb on a snare. Actually, I never put so much reverb. I should put more reverb on my snare.
Yeah, it's this is actually something maybe interesting. I've not really spoken a lot about how things are being fed into different reverbs and so on. They generally in this album have two reverbs. They have an old Pro Tools thing that was called a TL space.
Yeah.
That was going to like a small church hall sound that only a few things went to. That was used a lot less. And then they also had typically something called Revibe or Revibe 2.
Yeah.
And that was a more, I believe that could be a convolution reverb. Don't quote me on that, but that was the typical reverb that most things went to if there was reverb.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's only really two reverbs, which I understand is actually not a lot for music, these days. But yeah, there you go. So then we'll move on to the hi-hat, just so you hear a bit of the hi-hat. Let me actually find where... There's a lot of bleed.
Yeah.
Without that EQ. With. I'll move forward. we then have the toms, which is mostly what you're going to hear in the bridge for the I'm giving in part.
Sounds sick.
Yeah, and there is. Oh, it sounds like there's definitely reverb going to that, but I don't appear to have. Oh, it did. It did have reverb. It was just automated.
Yeah.
I was thinking that definitely has reverb. There was also something interesting that happens in here. It happens, as you'll see on the automation, if anyone's watching on the screen here, that the replacement kicks have some automation that's going to the reverb, which also slightly happens on one of the toms.
Yeah.
So just to play that with the kick, just so you can hear that, it's kind of interesting. Just that hit in particular, which, let me just play it in context of the track.
It's coming out, you give it away. I'm thinking about not taking.
That kind of
Never
emphasis
noticed.
there.
Never noticed that.
Yeah, and when you take those away, in fact, let me just do that because I think it's interesting. It just doesn't quite sound the same.
You give it away. I'm thinking about not taking.
Yeah.
Doesn't have the impact anymore.
Yeah.
And again, this sort of thing, no one would really notice.
No.
Like, unless you know about that, that is not an obvious thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
There's some really cool production ideas and mixing ideas in this, and we'll get to more as things progress. So they're the toms. Then we have an overhead, left and right, which again, a little bit of EQ on those. The overheads sound really good.
Yeah.
If I took the EQ off, you know, it's
Still
quite
better
a nice
than
sound.
mine.
Still a nice sound. They also have a little additional cymbal choke that happens. So this would be just before the final chorus, which in the context of the song is here.
Is all it's about. Then why did it take so long to figure out?
That
Never
part.
noticed that.
Yeah, so they originally didn't play it with a cymbal choke. And just so you can hear the drums without that. And then, of course, with. Just with that
Interesting.
little, yeah. So that was clearly a little overdub because it's not in anything else.
Yeah.
And let me just play you that cymbal on its own.
Interesting.
So I don't know if that's a MIDI.
No, I don't think. I don't think so.
It
It sounds.
feels very clean.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But
I
I mean, yeah.
It's possible that they put this on it when the drums already were recorded. So
Oh yeah, but I mean, it's will have been recorded straight after with the kit. But having
Yeah.
said that, maybe not, because there's no sense of reverb to it, and it doesn't appear in any of the rooms. And you'd have thought maybe
Yeah.
they'd have put that in. But
yeah, it's definitely like
know.
recorded after the actual drum recording, but it
Yeah.
still could be like they put a mic on the cymbal and recorded that,
Absolutely.
or they recorded some MIDI.
yeah, but either way, it's kind of. I feel like that's a noticeable thing. But I'm not sure. It is sort of buried in there. And then, of course, you finally have your room mics left and right, which I will play you without the EQ and then with. This is the final chorus. This is without EQ and with. And then with a bit of everything else. And then, of course, there's the little kind of rock and roll sort of hit at the end.
Yeah.
And then you hear a little bit of the sticks going down. And, of course, then someone speaking. Someone opens the control room door and it squeaks. And then you hear someone talking before it gets cut off. Let me just play you that bit.
So cool.
I don't actually know what is being said there.
You could.
Let me just raise the volume of that bit. Not the hit, but the bit after it.
Oh, you hear a door squeak.
Yeah,
as
you
well?
literally hear the door open. There you go.
This could be Mike or CJ.
Yeah, I imagine for me, it feels like CJ, but I
Yeah.
don't know.
I think
Who knows?
Same.
So they're the drums. There is also something. I'll show you because it's here.
Oh,
it was a ride mic
Yeah.
that was never used.
Yeah.
So let me just solo that for you. Yeah. So it was just never used.
Yeah.
And it happens a little bit later on as well. But what you would have really heard is... I actually don't think the ride sounds that bad.
No, not at all.
To be honest.
but I mean, I also never use a ride mic, so because it's
Right.
like you hear it on the overheads a lot. So I mean, I know a lot of people that never use like a mic on the right. So
Yeah. And also sometimes that can be thrashed and it can, I think, just sound a little bit over the top. Right. So here we are next onto something that I don't think anyone would really notice at all.
yeah,
Which is
Percussion.
CJ's percussion, which is some whiskey bottles.
yeah,
Which I just think is amazing. And it wasn't until I heard these multi-tracks where I noticed this, obviously. And now I can't unhear it when I listen
Yeah.
to the song.
Same.
It's really funny. I'll play it, see if anyone notices this from the song. It's so not obvious.
it's like Latin. I don't know, like samba or something.
It's great. Allow me just to play where that sits.
It's not really present in the mix, sadly.
No, but if you listen for it, you will notice it.
Yeah,
It's definitely there, especially if you turn the mix up in the car where it's
Yeah. And
nice stereo.
And especially if you heard this podcast episode, because if not, you
Absolutely.
probably never notice it.
100%. So that kind of makes me smile.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that it's called Bushmills as well for the whiskey. That's just great.
That reminds me of, it's really off topic, but that reminds me of the stamps of Hollywood Girl. There's also something we never noticed in the song, and which also like doesn't fit in it at all. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
I can't think.
Also some percussion stuff.
I don't remember, I'll have to re-dig into that. Possibly we'll get there one day.
Yeah, we need to make a bonus episode about that.
It is really fun. And also, if we can, maybe somehow as well. That's a really fun one. So that is the percussion. Actually, according to the credits, I'm just looking now, it says CJ and Mike. So, I don't know, maybe someone did one, someone did the other. Who knows?
Yeah, it was important. It was really important that both do that.
Absolutely. And then we have, of course, a tambourine. I believe, judging by the waveform, that this is a sample. And then, along with the... it kind of works really well.
Yeah.
It's quite funny. And allow me to play that little bit for you with the drums so you hear all of the percussion.
Cool.
I think it's really, I think it's great. Very unexpected,
Yeah.
shall we say. And then we get to the bass guitar, which was played by someone called Tom Kinney, as opposed to Mike, which I believe Mike was for the rest of the album, pretty much, if I remember correctly. So this is not Mike, this is Tom Kinney, and this is what the bass sounds like. So you can really hear the pick attack
Yeah.
from that
But
too.
it's also like kind of the same on the other tracks, right? From the sound.
Yes, yeah. There is, apparently this was amped with Amp Farm initially, but this is what the clean track sounds like. So you can hear that. So a fairly standard sound, really.
Yeah.
And let me just find this little section, which is where those Bushmills are being played, the whiskey bottles. Because I never really appreciated this. It's just a kind of a nice sliding bass line part. It's very simple, but I never really appreciated it before.
Okay.
Yeah, just never really noticed
same.
that, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then we get to very much all the same as what we've just heard, but we do get to the bridge part. And the bridge, let me just find whereabouts this is, would be about here. So it's just octaves of the same note. And then back in. So that is the bass guitar
Yeah.
for that. Then we also have a duplicate bass, which is literally the same track copied. So not another performance, but exactly the same performance. But that is quite heavily amped. And in fact, you'll see here, there is an amp farm setting on there for a kind of like a really heavy, gritty amp with a little bit of a high pass attached to it.
Makes sense.
It does.
So it doesn't have the low frequencies on that.
Exactly. So what you're going to hear is
the way I do it as well when I double the bass, because you don't
it's
want to
like-
have the double bass frequencies. I think it makes sense.
because potentially again phase and all those sort of things could happen, maybe. But this is what that sounds like. It's quite different. So it's like very gritty and
Is
gnarly.
it that loud, or did you make it louder?
That is apparently the volume according to the
wow.
Pro Tools. So
didn't
you
know
can
this.
hear them together. But then it cuts out just to the other one.
Okay, makes
So
sense.
there are certain times where that's in. I
Yeah.
guess where it gets really heavy and then it fully drops out.
Okay.
So there is some automation applied to that. And you'll see, whereabouts is it? Where that appears
Yeah.
and disappears. So for all the heavier parts of the song, it's there, but when it gets to the bridge as well, it just drops. Yeah, so it's not constant, but it is in there.
Yeah. All right.
So again, something else that again you just wouldn't notice really. Unless, I mean, you
Yeah,
were really
I mean-
trying to pay attention to the bass.
Can you play can you play everything together from part where the amp is on the bass? Because I want to hear how loud it is in the mix.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Let me do that again for you.
Oh yeah.
Now it's gone.
All right. It works. It works. It just it felt so loud.
Yeah. Again, that was partly my fault because the whole master was up a little bit, so it would have felt louder than really what it would have been. Mm-hmm. But together they were in ratio to each other.
Yeah.
Then we have the organ, which allow me to play that for you too.
Nice meaty.
It really is, isn't it? And this also has a little bit of compression, some gentle EQ, and some reverb attached, which not many of the organs in the album actually have reverb attached.
Yeah.
So this is one of the exceptions in this instance.
Sweet.
Yeah. Again, it's definitely present, but not something that you really latch onto, I don't think, when you listen to the song.
Yeah. I mean,
It is quite hidden.
that part I always kind of heard, but I could not notice, like I could not say if it's an organ or if it's a
Right.
guitar doing something. Like I noticed that, but I didn't know what it is.
Right. Yeah. I'll play that just in the context of the song, just a little bit.
It's only time until you find out. It's only time. It's only time until you find out.
It's quite
Yeah.
buried in there, but
Yeah.
it is present.
Yeah.
And that is very much the same for the rest of the song.
Mm-hmm.
However, there is a second organ right at the end in
Yeah.
the final chorus. And these two interplay with each other. And there's some really fun panning that happens as well.
Mm-hmm.
That, again, you just would not notice. Let me play both those organs together through to the end.
All right. Like they
There you go.
put some tremolo thing on it, like a riser. So like the one that it goes from left to right all the time.
Absolutely. But that is just volume, sorry, not volume, automation
Panning.
for the panning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's really, really, really hard panning.
Oh, yeah, fully.
Yeah, it's not even. No, I mean
It's not
like
bouncing either.
no, it's they didn't do a transition like because you
No.
could do it like more like it's not cutting over
Just
to the
smooth, yeah.
They didn't do it, but you
No,
can. Yeah,
literally.
actually, I didn't hear it on the like in the mix. Like I mean, you don't hear that it's not smooth going
No,
to the.
not at all.
You don't hear it.
No. But it's always at the same point rhythmically where it jumps.
Okay.
But yeah, again, something else that I never noticed in this song, and now whenever I listen to it, it's just a thing that my brain latches onto because I know it's there.
Yeah.
Which again is what I'm hoping people enjoy about this series.
Yeah.
Then we have the very intro part. This is where the guitars begin, and we have a bit of Drake and Mike in the guitar parts. And as we progress, you'll even see they're labeled where Drake is playing and Mike.
Finally.
I know. It's about time. It's Only Time. So we have two kind of performances, I believe, or they could be the same. Can't remember off the top of my head, but they're treated differently. So one is a hollow-bodied guitar. Let me play that for you. So it does have a little bit of a kind of a bit crusher and a high pass attached to that. But then we have, could be the same performance. If not, it's very close to doing the same thing with amp farm attached to it for a little bit of, an amp simulator sound. And that sounds like this.
Can you play them together?
Absolutely.
I think it's not the same thing. I mean,
I have a feeling it's not.
Yeah.
In fact, let me turn off the amps. Yeah, they're different.
it's not the exact same timing.
But that's a nice thing. Like that
Yeah.
gives it a bit of width. Although, interestingly, they are in the middle. They're not panned.
Yeah.
But I guess it would feel off kilter, though, wouldn't it, if they were?
I mean, also, I think it's more interesting because this is like the intro of the song. So when the song starts, you get the whole stereo thing, but the intro is like in the middle. So
Yeah.
It
So
makes
it's like
sense.
huge
like-
when the band enters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds great. So that is the only instance of that you hear. And for whatever it's maybe worth, allow me just to maybe explain how I think that is played. This is a tricky song because we don't really hear live performances of it. Almost at all. There are a few odd videos on YouTube, really old videos, but they were filmed on a potato.
Yeah.
And it sounds horrendous and it looks horrendous. So there's no chance to see what they're playing. But it was these multi-tracks that allowed me to kind of, I think, work it out. And how I think this is played, let me demo it for you. I think is something like this. I think
Yeah.
it's that.
sounds about right.
And for anyone interested in having a go themselves, this is basically an E chord. But the third finger, the ring finger, the E note on the D string, kind of gets slid 2
Yeah.
frets
Yeah.
to a bit of an A chord or a bit of an A power chord into it's sort of like an A add 9 or an A sus2. The little finger gets added to what would be the B note on the 4th fret of the G string.
Is the song like? Did they tune the guitar a half? Like
This
a half
is standard.
Note? It's standard.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
I mean, not on your guitar. That one's definitely tuned down.
No, I mean it's detuned, but it's like. I used to play it like that. I don't know if you can hear it. I mean,
Yeah.
I always played it like that, not because I thought it's the correct way, but it's like an easy way for me. Like. And I don't even like. I don't know. It's easy to play. Like it's like a fun song to play. Actually.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, what you're playing,
Yeah.
we will get there, but there's a few things happening. There's this motif that is for most of the song, but when it gets to the chorus, it then changes.
Oh.
Which is
I
closer to what
think
you're doing.
Before you came into the call, I think I played something like that for fun. Like that,
Yeah.
right?
So what you played as what you explained to me at the beginning is kind of what the choruses are doing, but it's not the intro.
Yeah.
But then, let me put this down for a second. Then we get to Drake and Mike's guitar parts. We'll tackle Drake's first. Now, Drake has done a few live Instagram performances over the years. And I have seen him on occasion play parts of this song. And this is exactly how he plays it on the live. So this is definitely Drake, and it is labeled correctly. And this sounds like this.
Cool.
Kind of nice. And it's the same. So the chorus that Drake is playing is the same as the verse. And how he's playing that is kind of unusual. It's sort of a nice idea, actually. I'll just demo it so you can half see it. Kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think I'm ever so slightly out of tune myself. But that idea, how it's being played, it's almost like if anyone knows about the caged system on guitar, if anyone's ever heard that, it's essentially like a G shape E chord. But the open thickest string is just E. Doesn't have a finger on it. And then you've got a finger that's on the 11th fret of the A string. And then you have the index finger that's sort of doing a partial bar of the 9th fret. So altogether, that's an E chord. Same chord as the beginning, just a different voice. And then what's really sweet is if you just move this finger that's on the 11th fret down one string to reveal now an open A string, that's the next chord. So you kind of have E and A just by moving one finger.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice. It's a sort of a sweet idea.
Yeah.
And there's a few moments where that finger lifts off and it's just very brief. You know, just kind of gets played around with. And there's another nice moment that you'll have heard in there. It happens a few times in the song where the little finger is just being added as a little hammer on and pull off on the G string. So that's what he's playing. Let me just play a little bit more of that for you, just so you can hear that in the context as well. I'll nudge the song on a little bit. So all the same there. There we go.
Yeah.
And let me nudge it to the next section. So this is the chorus. This is where it changes. Now, what's really interesting, you know, Kai, when we were just talking about how that same chord shape was moved
Yeah.
to get the chorus, Drake seems to be playing this first one an octave higher
Oh, okay.
and then doing the same thing. So he's basically playing the same chords, but one of them is an octave higher.
Crazy.
But the same idea.
These
very clever,
crazy motherfuckers.
Calm down, Kai.
But we found out So
um,
like
there's-
they did this so they could always say no. You play you like when fans try to figure out the chords, like they can say always like no, it's you played the wrong way.
it's not
Because
official.
We have 5 different versions in that song how to play.
But now we know.
Now we know.
20 years later.
Yeah.
This is the bridge. This is Drake's guitar. And what's really interesting now is this would be where Drake's solo enters. So it's actually Drake that plays the solo in this song.
Mm-hmm.
And let me play you that part.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
There you go. Little bit of a delay on there too,
Yeah.
which is quite nice. And yeah, I didn't think that was Drake that played it.
Yeah, same, but also like in the like mix of the track, the solo sounds even better than if you listen to it alone.
Yes.
Because I don't know why, but it kind of sounds bigger in the mix. I don't know why.
I mean, the thing about it is that solo, if my memory serves me right, it's basically played on the second thinnest string, the B string. And you've got the ringing of the thin string happening
Yeah.
constantly underneath of it. And I
Yeah.
guess because it's in the key of E, that E string, the thinnest string, kind of works. It just sounds nice.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe on its own, it just seems a little bit thin.
Yeah.
But obviously, in the context of everything, it works really well. And maybe the delay plugin as well, the Echo Farm that we have here,
Mm-hmm.
possibly also will add to that kind of fullness.
Yeah.
But that's essentially it, really, for Drake's guitar part. And then we have Mike's. And Mike's is doing the same thing. It's just a hard pan left and right
Yeah.
as a stereo effect. And that sounds like this. Doing the same as the intro. And then the chorus.
Cool.
So
Can you play the verse again and give me just one of these guitars?
yes.
Just want
Any
to hear
preference,
something.
left or right?
That doesn't matter. It's weird because
Why?
it's I don't know if it's maybe I mean you have the plugins so there's no noise gate on it, right? No guitar noise gate. Because it kind of like the way I mean I don't play the right chords but to show you what I mean with my detuned guitar. like that part.
So that isn't
rhythm,
played in the verse.
I like the chords aren't like I don't mean the
Oh,
chords.
sorry.
The rhythm, like na 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 na, like it almost sounds like a echo, like a delay on it, because like when I play it, it sounds like that. But if you listen to that guitars, it sounds like this. It sounds like, I don't know, like they did, like this is just one, and then it's like repeated, but it's not. But
So I think what you're
maybe because
hearing,
I don't know, maybe it's the setting of the guitar, like the pickup. They use a different pickup,
possibly
or something.
I mean, I think what you're hearing and describing is just when the little finger gets added. I think that's all that is. This isn't totally clean, just so you can hear it.
Oh, he's not even playing it heavily like me. Like he's not playing. Like he's more like.
Not in the verse. He's
He's more like that.
Yeah, kind of like a palm mute.
Yeah, okay. That's what I didn't notice when the amp is on that, because like I was like, it sounds almost like a delay effect on the guitar.
Right.
But that makes sense because he's kind of muting the strings and it has that effect.
Well,
Okay.
just before that, you'll hear that this is where it does get heavy.
Yeah, that's normal.
And
Sounding
then you've
normal
got
too.
your, kind of thing. So, yeah, there's certainly that kind of dampening that's going on in there.
Mm-hmm.
The guitar part, though, I mean, this in the very nicest way. It's not very intricate. There's not a whole lot really
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
There's a really lovely interplay that happens between Mike's guitar and Drake's guitar in the whereabouts is it? Let me find it for you. Somewhere here. Just kind of playing little harmonies
cool.
of each other,
Yeah.
which is quite nice. Then during the bridge, Mike's guitar doesn't play at all.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing. And then it re-enters for the chorus. It's essentially what we've just heard already. I'll play a little bit. This is during the solo. And so on. But there's not really much else happening with that guitar part.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
it's
guess-
really like a straightforward song. Like it just like they did these like 2 or 3 versions of the chords and then they put it all in one song. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
it's
other
cool.
than the bridge, the chords, the harmony is essentially the same, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't change. It's E and A for the most part.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I guess it's a lesson in squeezing the most out of something really simple,
Yeah. And that
as
became
well.
the title track
Absolutely, yeah.
of an album which is not even that simple for most of
Very
the
true.
songs.
It's very
I
true,
mean,
yeah.
I think the next simple track would be "Makes Me Happy."
Possibly, but I would say it's still even more than this, isn't there? But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Possibly Found a Way might have been
Also, yeah, but I think
in terms of the
Makes Me
full
Happy-
production.
Yeah, but I think "Makes Me Happy" to play that is more easy than "Found a Way." I think.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, definitely. There's something that I just want to finally mention before we kind of put the guitar parts to bed, which is, remember what I said about Drake's guitar part being this sort of drony
Yeah.
with the finished 2 strings open? Well, Mike's guitar part for that chorus kind of isn't. You're not really hearing much in the way of the open strings. You hear it a bit on a few hits on the E chord. But then beyond that, you're hearing sort of the thicker string. You know,
Yeah.
So together they're not fully doing exactly the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they sound lovely.
Yeah.
And there is one
cool.
final guitar part that happens just the once. It sounds like this. And all
I
of
always
those...
I always noticed this one.
Yeah, it sounds good. All of the guitar parts at that point sound like this.
Yeah.
Kind of cool. It's
Yeah.
quite nice. That happens the 2 times at the same points in the song.
Mm-hmm.
And that's essentially it. It's kind of like a post-chorus bit, really, I guess.
Yeah.
That is it for all the guitar parts.
Yeah.
We then have, for the bridge, a Rhodes that comes in. It's the only time it happens in the entire song.
Oh yeah, I noticed.
Yeah, it's quite a big sound, actually.
Yeah.
Sounds like this. Just octaves of the same note.
Yeah.
Gets quite big.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's the performance of that is swelling that as opposed to an actual volume swell. It sounds great. And just so you can hear that in the context with Drake's guitar part, because that's really the only, other than the vocals, the only harmonic element in the song.
Yeah.
Of course, there's the bass as well. Shall I add the bass too?
Sure.
So then that is all the musical instrument elements other than vocals.
Yeah. It's nice that you don't you don't consider drums a musical instrument. It's nice to know.
I hate drummers. That's not true.
Yeah. They used to hang out with like musicians, right?
Yeah. When they're not doing their day job.
Bassists as well. Like, I don't know why, but they like musicians a lot.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I'm totally joking. I love drummers.
I hate drummers.
Let me just play for you because I think you'll find it maybe interesting. That section, so without the vocals, basically, let me play everything where you can hear that drum swell that happens on that hit.
Yeah.
That kind of really heavy bit of reverb there. I think it sounds great. That is sort of everything in terms of the instrumentation.
Yeah.
We then get to the vocals, and we have...
Which is not even so much like as in the other tracks.
Not at all. I mean, this song, including all the kind of auxiliary tracks, there's less than 50.
Yeah.
Before we've had at least 50
disappointed.
of just... Yeah. In some other songs, we've had a minimum of 50 vocals. It's not quite true. But yeah, there's definitely a lot less happening in this song.
Yeah.
And Drake's lead vocal, again, a little bit of EQ, some compression, some more EQ, some sibilance control with a de-esser, a little bit of reverb and delay. And that sounds like this.
Oh!
Maybe shouldn't have started it there.
1, 2, 3, hey! Where did you go? when I arrived? What was that look saw in your eyes? Nothing is what it appears. I'm a bit more refined in my recent years.
Now, one thing I want to say, you probably noticed this too, Kai. There's a lot of low end in his vocal.
Yeah.
Like I mean, you'll even see in the EQ, which again is as copied as closely as I could physically get from the Pro Tools session. There's a big, well, not a big boost, but there's quite a boost in the low sub frequencies.
Oh, there's a boost.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, so like if I took everything else off, you can kind of sometimes hear that coming through, almost like the blowing on the mic.
Where did you go when I arrived? What was that look saw in your eyes? Nothing is what it appears.
Like it's
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, at least you don't have some noise.
true.
I know. So it probably
Yeah.
they wanted to have the vocal track just a little bit thicker, and it's. I mean, you can do that if you don't have any rumble happening in that frequencies, which was the case like on I know. And
Maybe do you
yeah.
think that
I mean,
could have
it
been like
wasn't-
aircon or something, or
Huh?
do you think that could have been like an aircon, air conditioner or something, or like that low kind of rumble in the background?
I don't know, maybe, but it was it was not a constant noise, right?
Yeah,
It was
true.
it like imagine you have an apartment under the train or something. Like
Right,
it sounded
maybe.
something like that. I mean, they obviously didn't have the studio like in a like under under the train, but
That'd have been really disruptive.
like the Blues Brothers, you know, the apartment where they slept. But I think maybe it was an open window or something. Like
Maybe. Yeah.
I don't know.
No idea. I'm not sure anybody would even remember either now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll play you a little bit more of that vocal.
She said I wasn't even here. She said I wasn't even. She said I wasn't even here. She said I wasn't.
Oh,
Yeah.
there was an obvious cut.
Let me take off all the plugins there.
She said I wasn't.
Like leading into that.
Yeah,
Production secrets.
yeah. Vocal
It's
comms.
only time until you find out. It's only time until you find out. It's only time until you find out. It's only time till you find.
I'm sure there's a little bit of a snapping of an auto-tune thing there as well at the end.
Yeah. I want to know the Voc Oct. Is that the same thing as they did in Fool the World?
Yeah. So, yeah, this is exactly the same performance. As you'll see from the waveform, it's identical. But they have pitched
super
it an
weird.
octave lower. Yeah.
Super weird. Like
And you'll see from the EQ, it even has quite a significant boost in the bass as well,
yeah.
with a little bit of compression. And that, just so you can hear it, it's even in this intro. Which I think is great. Let me just raise the volume for you.
1, 2, 3, Where did you go when I arrived? What was that look saw in your eyes?
So on its own, it sounds stupid.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't sound good, but it adds a bit of thickness to it.
Yeah.
In a really unusual way.
Yeah, but it's not the same as on Fool the World. But on Fool the World, because on Fool the World, it had more like a robotic, robotic sound. Like it was an octave lower, but it also sounded really like a robot. Like
Okay, I'll have to re-listen to that.
A couple makes what come out the snow.
Oh right, okay. I
Really
don't
like-
remember
it
that.
sounded-
Yeah, maybe.
It sounded really like that, you know.
Oh, okay, interesting. But that was also taken.
Too many
we'll get there.
cigarettes. Hello.
Yeah, that was also taking exactly the same
Yeah.
take.
Yeah.
Let me play both together so you can hear them.
Where did you go when I arrived? What was that look saw in your eyes? Nothing is what it appears.
It's almost inaudible, really.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, I kind of don't really know the reason for it. I'm assuming it just adds thickness to the vocal somehow.
Yeah, maybe just. I mean, there's two options. Like, first is just what you said, like just having the vocals bigger in the mix. Second option would be something. I don't think it is the case, but maybe they wanted to have even more low frequencies in the vocals. But I don't
Possibly.
know why actually, because like mostly you try to cut off the low frequencies in all the
Yeah.
mixes, but I don't know. There's no rules in mixing, so
It's true. Yeah, a totally fair point. Let me play the bridge.
I'm giving in, it's coming out. You give it away. I'm thinking about not taking it. You're faking it. You're such a sad girl, a sad girl.
Yeah, fairly
Yeah.
straightforward with that too.
but you also should show the amp vox thing that goes crazy on the automation in there.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Just before we get there, there is also the little. They've called it a radio sound.
Yeah.
which is almost like a manual delay, shall we say? That sounds like this.
You're wrong, it isn't clear. Another excuse.
That little.
By the way, we didn't mention that the Vogue Oct also has a little bit of delay, so it's not totally
That
in
is a good
sync
point.
because I don't know why. Maybe because you can hear it better if it has a little delay, but I mean you can't hear it at all in the mix.
It's sort of like it's milliseconds, isn't it?
Yeah.
In some of the other sessions, there is an actual plugin. I mean, this seems baked in, but there is an actual plugin, and it's 200 odd milliseconds, almost inaudible, but ever so slightly phased out.
Yeah.
And we have a very similar thing that goes on here in this manual delay,
Takes so long to figure out.
but not used as a delay, just as a kind of emphasis,
Yeah.
which on its own,
Figure out.
Mm-hmm.
kind of, a slightly gritty sound,
Yeah.
Isn't clear.
But you were right to mention the amp vox, which does go crazy. Now you'll see this is muted, and that's because it is muted in the final track. It isn't actually there. But I have taken the time to copy the automation that happens in it.
Yeah.
Let me unmute that for you. If anyone is watching this, you might see the panning automation
Yeah.
that happens. Yeah, let me just play that with the rest of the vocal for you, and you will hear it bounce left and right.
I'm giving in, it's coming out. You give it away. I'm thinking about not taking it. You're such a sad girl, a sad girl.
But are you sure that this is not in the song?
Not in the song.
Couldn't it be that it was muted maybe when they did the instrumental bounces and didn't like... Because I feel like this... I don't know. I feel like this
I
is
don't
in the
hear
song.
it in the song.
You don't hear it in the song?
No.
Okay, I need to check myself. But I feel... I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I could be wrong, but I don't hear it in the song, and I've listened really intently for that, and I don't hear it. But later on, there is this little section on the, I think it's the word "figure out," that is present,
Long to figure out.
Yeah.
that does a kind of left to right sort of thing in there,
Yeah.
which is quite nice. And again, it just replicates that radio effect from before. But otherwise, then that's it for the lead vocals. And we are into the backing vocals, of which there's only really 4 different elements that are double tracked.
Yeah.
This seems to be all Mike, from what I can hear.
Maybe this is one of the tracks that CJ had nothing to do with, because I
Possibly.
know, like I think he mentioned that they had a few tracks ready before he came into the project, like, and maybe
That's true.
this one was already finished. It also doesn't sound like something CJ writes, you know.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think you're right, though. I've just looked at the crediting, and it does say it's produced by only Mike. So you are right.
I know.
Yeah, kind of an interesting one.
I know I'm right.
I never doubted you.
I hope so.
Then we have the backing vocals. And a bit of an interesting thing, I think, from a production point of view, is that some of this is also feeding into the main echo farm delay that the lead vocals go into. And not many songs have the background vocals with either reverb or delay. They're often very
Yeah.
kind of lacking in that, actually. Maybe because there's not a lot happening in terms of backing in this. Maybe it felt necessary. I'm not sure. This is what that sounds like.
When I arrived, look, saw in your eyes, nothing is what it appears. A bit more refined in my recent years. She said I wasn't even here. She said I wasn't even.
And there's also a really lovely harmony part just here too. Let me play that again for you.
Even here, she said I wasn't even. She said I wasn't even here. She said I wasn't.
Oh, it's great, isn't it?
That's Mike.
The tingles.
It's only time until you find out. It's only time until you find out. It's only time until you find out. It's only time
You can hear some of the grit as well, can't you?
Yeah.
until you find out.
Sorry,
Wrong
this
tracks.
Until you find out.
one. That out.
Yeah.
You can hear those vocal folds going crazy. And then we have a kind of a very similar thing for the remainder, really.
The things that you hear, it isn't clear for me to ignore.
And then we're back into, I believe, the same thing.
She said I wasn't even here. She said I wasn't even.
And much the same. Then we get to the bridge. And again, there's very little in it compared to, I think, how big the bridge actually sounds. I know there's not a lot happening, but it feels quite big, I think,
Yeah.
from a
Yeah.
listening point of view.
Yeah. Same. I know exactly what you talk about. It felt like you expect way more tracks. Like you listened to that song for ages, and you checked out the stamps, and you expected like at least 20 more tracks, like
Yeah.
for like the whole song or something. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Sounds just big like that, but nothing like there's like it's unbelievable that there's only 4 mic tracks in that, like
Yeah.
vocal tracks.
Yeah, yeah, literally, that is it. There's
Yeah.
nothing else. And on top of that, there's really only 2 parts to it. So we're saying 4 mic tracks, but really there's only 2 things happening
Okay.
that are doubled.
Okay.
So there's a lot less going on as well. So something weird just happened on my QuickTime then.
Oh,
I did this gesture, you'll see it, and balloons appeared behind me.
oh, okay.
I don't know why. Okay, anyway, we'll move
Okay.
on. So this is what that sounds like.
I'm giving in. it's coming out. You gave it away. I'm thinking about not taking it. You're faking it.
That's it.
Oh, okay.
It sounds to me, though, like this particular part, it sounds like he has a cold.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's almost like a bit nasally,
Yeah.
like he's struggling to breathe through his nose.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about
Like it's
Oh, yeah.
not taking it. You're faking it.
Yeah.
it sounds pinched,
Yeah.
and it's the same with this one. But the rest of the tracks don't sound like that.
I'm thinking about not taking it. You're faking it.
Might also explain the harshness in his voice.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just something
Possible.
I noticed. Yeah, it sounded a little bit like he was maybe feeling a bit under the weather.
Yeah.
This is in comparison. Sorry, not in comparison. This is combined with the lead vocal, just so you hear it.
I'm giving in, it's coming out. You give it away. I'm thinking about not taking it. You're faking it.
And then that kind of ends the background vocals.
Yeah.
But then we also have this one.
I'd like to know.
Just a really sweet little thing.
What were you thinking? I'd like to know.
Cool.
Which is quite sweet. And then I believe the rest is the same, but it looks like we do have an additional she said I wasn't line,
Yeah.
which is where Mike goes particularly full on.
And even here, she said I wasn't.
Yeah. That's what I want. That I need.
Yeah.
She said I wasn't.
Yeah. It's pretty full on. It sounds great. And I believe this is really kind of the end of it now.
It's only time. It's only time. It's only time.
That's my favorite part of the song, actually.
Is it?
Time. I love that.
Oh, that's great.
Because he's changing what he does. He's not doing the same thing all the time. He's changing, and that's what I always liked about the track.
Yeah. It's lovely. Let me play you that last little outro part with the lead vocal.
Until you find out, it's only time. It's only time. It's only time. It's only time. It's only.
Great.
Yeah.
Isn't it good? And
It's
that's
cool.
it.
That's
In
it.
terms of the background vocals, that is it. There's just one other thing that I want to mention, which is an interesting production or mixing idea, which is with the Echo Farm, the delay plugin. Now, you'll maybe not notice. Let me reiterate: you will not have noticed this. I don't think anybody would have noticed this. And originally, when I looked at the Pro Tools sessions for this, I thought, like, there's been a mistake in there because partway through it starts off with a ping pong delay, and then for a brief moment there's a different type of delay. And what's also interesting with the Echo Farm by Line 6 is that if you automate, you can have something, I don't know if you can see it there, it says time ramp on.
Yeah.
So that means if you change that with automation, it will distort the sound and kind of create a weird effect out of it. And there's a lot of automation that happens here. Not only does the actual ping pong change to a low res delay, low resolution, the actual delay time changes from 240 milliseconds upwards of 461 milliseconds.
Okay.
But then the repeats change too.
Well, that's weird.
Let me play. Yeah. So the vocal is being fed into this. Let me just play you that. It seems wrong, but this happens.
until you find out. It's only
And it's back in normal.
until you
Yeah, that could be a mistake.
I don't think so, because where it happens, if you listen to the song, you will
It
hear
makes
it.
sense. Or not.
Yeah, it makes complete sense, because it's the she said I was like it's that kind
Yeah.
of big swelling thing that happens.
Yeah.
I would have thought they would have maybe used a separate track to change the delay rather than having this weird time ramp
Yeah.
thing. But if you listen to the song, you can hear that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only there. Let me, again, you probably won't really be able to hear this too well, but I'll play it as the full song. And you can see visually on the screen where it's going to happen.
Okay.
So you can see the change of the effect and so on.
That even here, she said I was
It's really subtle,
Yeah.
but there is a difference in there. Let me play it with the vocal. Where is the lead vocal? Here we go. So these are what are being fed into it.
Mm-hmm.
even. She said I wasn't even here. She said I wasn't. It's only time until you find out.
You don't hear it a lot.
No, you don't.
If you don't
but-
know it, you would never have an idea that there is something something different.
Yeah. And that's the last thing I kind of wanted to mention with that is
Yeah.
that I believe that's the only song on the album that something weird like that happens with the delay.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but when you next listen to it, listen to that. I believe it's the first pre-chorus.
Yeah.
Or it could be the second one by the looks.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just not what I expected
Yeah.
at all.
No. Yeah. Sorry. My all the pets are in this room now. So
It's all right.
I was kind of distracted. Yeah. But yeah, I have nothing more to say about this song.
No, I don't either. I think that that covers it quite in depth
Yeah.
as it is.
Yeah. The next song will be "Makes Me Happy," I think.
It will be. It would have been "Found a Way," but
we don't
sadly
have it.
we don't have the multi tracks for that.
Yeah, but that's why we did the episode 0 kind of as well, because we don't have the. I mean, we could try to do at least a separated version of the vocals and instrumental.
We could.
With
I mean,
AI.
it wouldn't be obviously as clear.
It wouldn't be
and-
high quality.
Yeah.
Like I think if you people could let us know in the comments if that's an option to do. I mean, it
But-
wouldn't fill like 1 hour.
no.
But I mean, we
But
can.
also because we couldn't isolate all the individual things either, could we?
I mean, I can try with the latest AI stuff, with the best latest AI stuff, what is possible. But yeah, we will
could
see.
see.
But yeah,
But the next real proper episode would
Yeah.
be Makes Me Happy.
yeah, I say goodbye for this episode, and yeah, see you in the
and-
next episode.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for listening, and we will play you out with a slowly integrated version of It's Only Time.
All right.
Oh! Hey, hey! 1, 2, 3, hey! Where did you go when I arrived? What was that look saw in your eyes? Nothing is what it appears. I'm a bit more refined in my recent years. She said I wasn't even here. She said I wasn't even. She said I wasn't even here. She said I wasn't. It's only time until you find out. It's only time until you find out. It's only time until you find out. It's only time till you find. that you hear. Maybe you're wrong, it isn't clear. Another excuse for me to ignore. It's not quite as simple as it was before. She said I wasn't even here. She said I wasn't even. She said I wasn't even here. She said I wasn't. It's only time until you find out. It's only time until you find out. It's only time until you find out. It's only time till you find. I'm giving in, it's coming out. You give it away. I'm thinking about not taking it. You're faking it. You're such a sad girl, a sad girl. Where did you leave? Why did you go? What were you thinking? I'd like to know. If walking away is all it's about, then why did it take so long to figure out? She said I